Hey everyone, and welcome to the November 19th Stock Talk. Now, I know a lot of you are wondering what happened from yesterday's analysis to today. Did we switch completely bearish based off of the action made today? So today was a rather sudden move back to the downside. Okay, that's for sure. But the one thing that we want to keep in mind is here is SPY, the S&P 500 on the yearly chart. We have a support line, which is the break-up candle, okay? This was a support line, and this low is situated at 268.78. We closed today 269.10. Now, for that to have missed for a couple of cents, that's actually slightly more bullish than bearish. Just think about that for a moment. But however, I'm going to show you some other charts that will establish the bearish case. The point here being is the markets are giving us a mixed signal, and in the short term, the bears are certainly winning. That's what you have to take into account. Why is that? So while over here you could look like in the long term, it looks fine today, right? If we look at a more close-up chart of, let's say, NQ, which is something we've been monitoring, this is the Nasdaq Futures. Look at this. This is a very strong support level, 67.1146. Today, we closed below that level. If we zoom in a little further to 180-day 4-hour chart, you can see how this is the area of support. And today, what happened? We came up, retested it, got rejected, coming on down. Okay, so if Nasdaq isn't going to push higher, markets are going to have a very difficult time to push higher. That's bearish. Let's talk about SPY. Now, looking at SPY, show you guys this, okay? Showing you this. In the past, when we're establishing a bottom, right? This was from October 24th to October 30th. We moved in this vicinity for quite a while. Can you see that? Establishing a bottom. Can you imagine that this could be potentially a bottoming formation? It could, but what do we need to see? We need to see the bulls recover, and especially recover to 272 to 273 area. For now, can we imagine this scenario? Yes, but what is the most likely scenario in the near term? It is to the downside. So you might be asking, well, Kevin, what are you thinking? What do you think we should do? Well, in my opinion, the best way is have cash on the side. Remember, a position that you can have is have cash on the side, because that is certainly, we can wait for the markets to play itself out. And then once we see some sort of area of support, some sort of bottoming area, then we can take a possible long position. So you might be thinking, Kevin, okay, what if I do this? And I know a lot of you guys are thinking this or may have already done this. What if I short today? NQ broke support. Let's go back to NQ. NQ broke support. Let's short today. So here's the deal with that, right? The question you have to ask yourself is, fine, you broke a support, I agree. And you could weigh your hedges on the fact that if we managed to close above that level, then you would be out of that short. Okay, that's reasonable. But at the same time, you have to imagine, if you short today, what is your potential for profit versus your risk? How much can you make off of that short right now? That's a question for you to answer. Okay, and then if you say, I want to go long today, well, let's say if you want to go long today, this is your case right here. You're hedging your bet that we will hold this support, 268.80. So the point here is, I can see an argument for both cases. And when I can see an equal argument for both cases, I'm not going to take a position, and it's good just to have cash on the side. Once there's a more clear-cut direction, I'm likely to take that path and follow that path. That's that, right? Okay, so Let's take a look at volatility, TVIX. So TVIX, pretty nice update today. So right now you can see that we're moving higher. Now the thing about this is if we do manage to actively close 47.85 or higher, which we didn't do today, but if we can do that, look for the 200 period moving average acting as a resistance in the past. Okay, so that area would be around 53.61. That would be the area of resistance I would be looking for. So I think this is you know, if markets do push higher or lower, then we would expect this one certainly to push higher. Look for that area as resistance. So hopefully, okay, guys and girls, hopefully this clears some things up in terms of which side to look at broad markets and where positions are shifting left and right, in terms of S&P 500, for example, right? Okay, so let's take a look at commodities. So let's take a look at crude oil. So crude oil today, you can see that today we tried to move lower, but we ended up pushing higher. So I think in the near term, looks like crude oil looks fine, right? But what this is establishing is as long as we can't really close over the $59 level, look for this to be pushing lower. So just because today it didn't push lower doesn't mean tomorrow it can't push lower, right? This is looking more bearish. This is moving towards the 20-period moving average, and this was significantly oversold, so it's doing an oversold bounce. So you're like, Kevin, how do you know this is oversold? Well, first of all, you can imagine we're below my two major support lines. These were my two support lines that have been taken out by this red candle, and secondly, we're significantly below the 20. We were significantly below the 20-period moving average, right? So in this case, you can imagine we can certainly move a little bit higher and get rejected for possible another move down. So just be on the lookout for that if and when that occurs. Natural gas. Natural gas, we talked about this, and this has occurred. We talked about a gap fill on UGAZ or pro natural gas, and natural gas today at least did move higher. We gapped higher, right? And you can see here we closed, and then we closed today here. So you know, natural gas, we know that there's a resistance at 4.864, but at the same time, you have to be wary of how we close the end of the month. That is the biggest deal. I think natural gas isn't going to come all the way down here and give us a clear-cut signal by the end of the month and say, oh, short natural gas because it's going to go lower because it's going to give us a nice tail candle to work with. That's not how it's going to work. So in my opinion, if it comes down here, I think natural gas could be bullish and be bought again, but that's just my opinion. So, you know, natural gas, I think, continues to be bullish. We are near the resistance. I get that. That's why, you know, right now the risk is high, but down here, risk is lower. So natural gas continues to be bullish for this month until said otherwise. GC, nothing changed here. Forecast GC, short term looks bullish. Long term, we haven't broken over a resistance of 1242. So short term, certainly bullish as we're moving higher towards 1242. We're going to be looking for a break towards that level, but if that acts as resistance again, look for this one to move down. That's just as simple as that. Right now, we caught the support moving higher. All well and dandy here. So let's take a look at a couple of your tickers. We'll start with K9. Thank you, K9, for your submission. And if you guys enjoy these videos, guys, I want to talk a little bit about how I analyze charts, right? I really analyze charts as objectively as possible. I like to follow the trend. And when we're getting mixed signals like what we have right now in terms of the S&P 500, you can just stay on the sidelines, which is what we are doing, what I'm doing, right? So unless you're day trading in and out, by the end of the day, I think it's a good idea to stay on the sidelines just to see what happens, right? So this is my strategy. I like to follow a clear-cut signal. I like to follow the trend. And if the trend suddenly reverses on me, I'm gladly just to either, if I have my positions, to cut my positions and take my profits, or cut my positions and take my losses. I personally am not immune to losses. Okay, that's just how it is. And I take losses just like other people. But the question, big question is, are you disciplined enough to take losses quickly? And are you disciplined enough to, if you're in a winning position, to make that continue and go on? That's what really separates a successful trader from unsuccessful trader. OGE. OGE is an energy corporation. Let's take a look at the longer term chart. K9. So this looks good. So this looks almost like it's moving. You know, the markets are moving lower, but this is the one that's moving higher. So this is looking good. I like it. I like it. Just be mindful that I think the best entry positions would be near the 20-period moving average on a weekly basis. You can see pretty clear cut right here. But I do like how we broke over the resistance, and this is likely to push to the upside until said otherwise. So while I think you could find a better entry position, you're on the right track of looking into a long position. So I like it, and good job, K9, for this ticker. Yarvin, USLV. So I believe USLV is silver, right, Yarvin? So you're welcome. I'm glad to do these stock talks for everyone. And here's USLV. Now, the things to know about this is while near term it looks like it wants to push higher, be cautious because in the past we have had this general vicinity act as a resistance, and this is moving lower. This is a lower low pattern, and this is has a horizontal resistance. So while this one looks bullish, slightly more bullish right now, this could reverse at any moment and really catch people by surprise and move to the downside again. So I don't think, you know, now that we've had this move back to the upside, I don't think there's much we can do at the moment with silver right now. Thank you. Synthartist, thank you so much for your comments. And actually, Synthartist, I read your comment over the weekend. I thought about it. That is an intriguing thought. And how this market could continue to push lower before it moves higher. I'll give you guys a general roundup of what I think about the S&P 500 in a moment, and at the end of the video, so stay until that. And we have one more ticker to tackle. So I want to thank Moviegoer, and we'll tackle FCX. Thank you for all of your comments. So FCX, so looking at this trend, you can see that it's been moving lower, right? 20-period moving average on the yearly chart has been acting as a resistance, and this is continuously acting as a resistance. 50 can certainly act as resistance. This is likely to push lower first before it moves higher. So right now, we don't see any sign of a trend change back to the upside, right? It's still getting rejected at the same area as before, so we would just have to wait and see in terms of possible long position. But for now, this is likely to push lower. Okay, let's take a look at SPY. Here's SPY on the yearly chart once again. So let's round up our thoughts. Let's say, for the purpose of this, that we don't have a bottoming formation, because if the bulls aren't going to recapture it in the next few days, this is not a bottoming formation. Let's talk about the downside targets. You can see this area of 263 certainly as an area, but in my opinion, the more significant downside target is around 260. That's our near-term downside target. Now, if that doesn't hold and we get some sort of suction or vacuum to the downside, we would be looking in towards my red area, 250, around that area, as the next support area, which would correspond to this low 250-292, but even a bit lower, a capitulation sell, to be honest. That's what we've been looking for. We're still far away from that. We're not going to get there that quickly. We still have to wait for a couple of days to play out. But those are my near-term targets. This boxed area here, this red area over here. Okay. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this analysis, provided some insights. I don't want to tell you, what to do, what to do exactly, because in the end, you can take the information that you've heard here, you can take the information that you've heard elsewhere, and then you make your own best decision as to what you want to do. And that's really the gem, in my opinion, making your own best decisions, and especially in the shaky market environment. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you guys soon. And of course, happy trading.